Welcome back to the Call Me Larry podcast, the only podcast that is also available in Dolphin. I'm joined here today by a guest co-host. I'll let him introduce himself. How are we doing today?
What's going on, viewers and listeners? We don't have a video episode yet, but we will soon, and we have props ready for you to go.
Speaking of props, so this fine man sitting next to me goes by Scuba Steve, and that's not what he goes by. That's what I call him. But no, he's a close friend of mine. We're in the Call Me Larry studio right now. It's a little hack and slash together, but we got a fresh new CML sign, neon sign, and then we're looking right at a banana right now. It's giving off some nice vibes. How you feeling, Steve?
It's currently midnight, and the banana is burning my eyes right open.
That's the goal. We're up all night in the CML studio, cranking out that content. But no, just to fill you guys in a little bit, I have my friend Steve staying here with me. He's stopping by. He's in the CML studio. I think he's a great guy, really good character to talk to a bit. And Zach is not here right now, so he's filling in for Zach of the day, co-host of the day, the Larry of the hour, Scuba, the man, Steve. And yeah, Steve, if you just want to maybe talk a little bit about yourself, your background, so the viewers or listeners in this case can get to know a little bit about you, we'd love to hear it.
For sure. So I was born in China, background half Mongolian, half Chinese. Moved to the States when I was very young, raised by my grandparents. Lived in everywhere. Lived in East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, middle of nowhere, even this place called North Dakota. And ended up finding myself here in New York City about 7.5 years ago. And met Mr. Larry here, where we went on quite a few adventures the first probably year and a half we knew each other. And got him in a lot of trouble. He didn't die. He's still here, thank God. And here we are in the CML studios.
Yeah, no. Again, we're happy to have you. So speaking back, so we've known each other. Let's think back. I think we've known each other 2.5 years, but not as friends for more than like 2 years or a year and a half, I'd say.
Apparently, I'm known as the guy who kicked his butt in a bidding war. And that's how he knows me.
Okay. Wait. Okay. So, to give a little more background to this, and he is correct, but we worked at the same company at one time, right? And that's how we had originally met. And we were having a charity auction event. Now, I was a little Larry. I'm new at this company, right? I have a new paycheck that I've never had before. This is my first year on the job. Right, and we do this auction, and I see this very cool looking arcade machine. And to give a little more background, my dad, he loves arcade games. He showed me when I was a kid Galaga. That was his favorite game. That and Pac-Man. And
Pac-Man was good.
He was good enough at Galaga that he was he knew the strategy, right? He's like, Jason, you got to do this. You got to do this. And whenever we would see a Galaga arcade cabinet,
that's cool.
We would play together.
That's nice.
So it's a really good memory that I have.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so I go to this, we're at this auction, and I see this arcade cabinet. I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool to experience playing Galaga with my dad again? But having me bought this custom arcade cabinet to do it. And this was an all-in-one giant arcade cabinet. Play any game you want. So I was like, you know what? I'm a bid on this shit, right? So I bid on it. And then, I think someone else, it was $50, $100. I'm like, $150. I've been on it. No one responds. Everyone's like, whoa, this guy's, going up $50. Like, okay. And then Steve over here, and he's looking at me in the eyes right now. He comes from the back. He's like, mine, hand up. And we proceeded to get into a bidding war.
How much you end up paying for that?
Yeah, well, how much did I end up paying?
Yeah.
$500.
Wow, we went pretty far.
Yeah. Everyone else stopped bidding at $150. That was just you and me, and that was my energy being in an auction. that was my first auction where I actually, this is the first time Jason had big boy money, right? And by big boy money, I mean a paycheck. Because I had nothing before this. I had that Panera bread money. That's all. That little, sign money, but that's it. This is the first time I'm going a paycheck, and this guy bids me up to $500. Did you ever plan on purchasing that?
I had nowhere to put it. No intention.
Okay.
But I read you like a book. I knew how much you were going to go to, and I said, you know what? This is for the children, for the childers, for the small areas of the world.
Okay.
And it was worth it.
No, I don't say it wasn't worth it. I'm happy to have donated to charity. But do you think you could have milked somebody that has a bigger paycheck?
At that point, I know who you were. You were the newest Larry in the room.
So you took advantage of me for charity. I'll accept that. But that was our first interaction, and we really didn't have any other interaction for a while after that. It was at least, that was probably the first month I started. And the next time that I really remember interacting with you, you can correct me if I missed you or missed anything along the way, is we had a company retreat. And this was about probably 4 to 5 months into my tenure at the company that I'm talking about.
Was that the camp?
It was the camp retreat. The really fucking cold camp retreat.
I remember that.
Yeah. A lot of people do.
And the showers were very small.
You showered?
And the toilets were very small.
Oh, well, it wasn't just small, it was public.
Yeah, no.
It was like a saloon. Yeah. It was like the doors open, it's like you can see their feet, you can see their head. It's like a little I only knew these people for 4 to 5 months in a professional setting. I don't know if I'm ready to lock eyes while I'm taking a shit. But it was some rough conditions, but it was a fun trip. And I see this guy. This guy strolls up in like an Uber or something on the first night of the event. Right, we just set up in the cabins. Did you stay in the cabins?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I got a hotel nearby.
Yeah, you know why I remember that? Because you told me. So you pulled up in it. I don't know. Did you pull up in your car?
I drove up my car.
You drove up your car. So I see this man. That again, I never connected. At this
2018
time between the auction. But yeah, it's crazy. 2018. But I see this guy roll up in a fresh-looking car. What car? What car do you have?
This is my BMW.
It's a BMW. It was a nice BMW. And he comes by, and I'm just situating myself fresh off the bus in a cabin. And I see this guy, and I wave to him or say hi or something, like, hey, what's up, man? And someone else starts talking to you, and you're talking about how you were in a hotel. And I was just like, all right, well, I'm in this cabin fresh off a bus. This guy rolls up in his BMW fresh out of the hotel. I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I should talk to this guy. Like, what's he all about? And we started to talk a little bit, and I think we had some mutual friends that played this game at the company called Magic. Right? And I had just gotten into that game. Do you remember that conversation that we had, Steve?
I can't say I did.
No, that's fine. I think we had a conversation on Magic. Specifically, we were talking about like a game format that we both played. And I, with my brand new pre-constructed deck I bought at Walmart, was like, I'm going to take you down. Right? If you don't remember me, do you remember my competitive energy?
I do remember that. I think you lost like 25 games in a row.
Well, so you made a deal with me. You're like, if you win 2 out of 20 games, I forget what it was some sort of prize that you were going to give me.
I remember that part.
It was either money or like, buy me a new deck or something like that. And I was like, this man's done. I'm going to end this man's career. Little did I know. So we sit down, we play this card game, Magic. And for those of you that don't know, it scales a lot with kind of not only game knowledge, but also your wallet to a degree. Just like a lot of other things. If you want to play the top level of golf, if you want to play the top level of even like soccer and stuff like that, you want the best equipment, right? You want the best tools. So there's a similar kind of effect in Magic. And so, Steve, you want to say, so what is this? What was your Magic deck? I got a deck at Walmart. Well, what's your experience with Magic prior to us playing?
Prior to us playing, I probably was in it for a couple of years and had been collecting cards for, at that time, better part of almost a decade. And if you don't know anything about this game, it's been around for about 2.5 decades. And the older the cards are, the more powerful they are, the less quote unquote balanced they are. And so what it came down to was Mr. Larry here had a what's called pre-constructed deck, a deck you buy fresh off the rack at Walmart for a grand total of less than $30. And each one of the cards I had in my deck probably were worth more than a grand total of $30. And I had about 100 of those. So it was a little bit more unbalanced towards my side versus, his entire deck, plus the cardboard being worth $30.
Now, I didn't know that, all right? He had a big Larry deck, right? And so I think I managed to scoop 1 win out of 20. But I did not get I did not get 2. So it was unfortunate. But long story short, that really kind of started our relationship because
there was some kid who just didn't give up, and then he kept on getting better. And then little did I know, he started eating ramen more because he couldn't afford to buy food because it all went towards $30 cards to go into his deck. And then now he shows me he's got like 15 of those decks, and he got a little bit more food now, but not that much. He still eats a lot of ramen.
I do still eat a lot of ramen, but you can see I definitely. I have a competitive spirit, and you do as well. And I think for our listeners that have heard my dad on the podcast, as well as me in the past, it's kind of baked into me. It's baked into who I am and how I was raised. That's where we kind of like really hit it off. And then from there, you show me the life of an adult, like in the sense that, I'm a boy out of college, right? And I don't know much about the career world, and I haven't had a lot of experiences, and you show me a lot of that stuff. I think we went on to go to my first hot pot. Do you want to talk a little bit about the origins of hot pot real quick?
I think the thing about a hot pot and introducing someone to hot pot, it's quite the experience. If you don't know what hot pot is a big cauldron of spiced. Doesn't have to be spicy, but spiced broth with a whole bunch of things in them. And then you're surrounded by an array of raw meats, vegetables, sea creatures, depending on what your style is.
Yeah.
And what you do is you take the food, the raw food, and you cook it yourself, and you pay for the privilege of you cooking for your own food.
Genius marketing. So it's really, really efficient. You go there and you dip your own food, and you make it until it's ready to go. Sometimes it's a little bit too raw. Sometimes it's a little overcooked, and you deal with it. But we brought Larry to this hot pot spot. I believe it was a joint hot pot and KBBQ place. They sold both at the same time, which you're always skeptical of. But for some reason, that KBBQ is so cheap. Anyways, we had a great time. He cooked his own hot pot, made a lot of KBBQ, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time I think I saw you eat until you were like, I couldn't anymore. No, definitely, yeah.
You were dead.
Well, because you told me we got the unlimited package.
You have to.
Well, I didn't know that was a thing in Hot Pot. It's like you don't go to Hot Pot and be like, I'm going to count the grams of meat I get and the grams of veggies. You're like, I want the $40 all you can eat or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, like you might as well get the all you can eat, and it's an experience. That's what it boils down to. It really is a intimate experience. And I've never had something like that when I've gone out to a restaurant. I've gone out to TGI Fridays. Buffalo Wild Wings, it's like the server's like, fuck you, here's your food. Yep. And they leave and you eat it and you're out, and it's old. It's a little nasty, like whatever. We all like it, but like it's not the experience of you're getting the raw ingredients. You're sitting there and you are cooking the food with those around you, and you're all sharing the food, sharing the experience. Passing food to each other.
Did we ever go to get drunken shrimp at one of those places? You ever see that? So imagine like a lobster, but like a mini lobster. So it's a big ass shrimp.
Yeah.
And then it's trying to get away. And then
it's alive?
It's really alive. It's really alive. And then they take this the alcohol and douse it, make it a little drunk. And then you dip it in and you take it out.
No.
It's real fast. It's like boom. And then it's the sweetest thing in the world. It's so amazing.
Oh my gosh! No, I've never had that. I don't know if I can do that. I
think I have to make it for you and then peel it a little bit, and then you can have it.
Yeah. I think you got to remove the whole process of the things alive in my hand, and put it in the flash boil, and then like I'm left with this thing still moving. I think you need to just like do it for me and then hand it to me and I'll eat it. I don't know if I can stomach the entire process. I still have this kind of like I'm working on it. I've evolved over time, right? But I was a chicken tendy boy, you know, like I was a little dino nugget man, you know, like I didn't have any sort of ketchup and dino
then
nuts.
we went to Japan.
We went to Japan, that's true. No. So this is the feigned Larry that has gone with me to Japan. We had a great time there. I think Taco Pirate episode 3, we talk a little bit about some of our excursions. Before or after this episode, there's a Mount Fuji experience that I go through, but we really did have a good time. And Scuba Steve here exposed me to a lot of really good foods and new things. And I would recommend really for anyone. It's interesting, my evolution of food in the sense that before I went to college, very straight edged in the sense that it's like chicken and rice, you know, like grilled chicken breast and rice, hot sauce, you know, chicken tendies, like keeping it simple. Like I just like my simple protein and like simple carbs. When I went to college near water in the Northeast, and seafood was big there. So I kind of got over my initial fear of seafood. I wasn't a big seafood guy prior to going to college. We had like a lobster and steak night, and like that's a whole experience. You can't be the guy that gets steak at a lobster and steak night, right? It's like when you pick a lobster steak, you got to go with the lobster. That's what everyone's doing. It's experience. Everyone's got the bibs on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a whole experience.
Dude, lobster's really good.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really good. I mean, it might be a giant sea bug.
Yeah.
But it's delicious.
It's delicious, especially with good butter. Like, it's good.
Oh, you douse that bitch in butter, you know? Like, but lobster's really good. And so that was my first experience and my first kind of step up. And then, you know, I moved to my new job, my new career, and I was exposed to some new foods there. You know, I went to some places with Steve in the city we were working in. And then on top of that, we went to Japan. And I think my food depth... is it breadth has expanded?
Yeah, the breadth of experiences in the culinary cuisines has really been now. You went from chicken tendies and chicken breast with white rice, and now you've had things that you can't even pronounce.
Monkfish liver we had. Live shrimp.
I have a picture of your face when you had the monkfish liver. You were like, I don't know about this. I'll accept it because I paid a lot of money for this. Yes. But can I have something I understand what it is right now?
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but the experience was a little weird for me. It's funny you do have the pictures of the progression. It's like me before, me mid-chew, and me after, like thumbs up, like, okay, I did it. And then we also had raw shrimp, which is new for me, might not be new for a lot of people.
And then we had a lot of nudes, a lot of great nudes. You really like the nudes there.
The noodles? Dude,
yeah.
Oh.
The spicy noodles, the dipping noodles.
Wait, we went with your friend and his wife to that spicy, like dry
that
noodle
that
bowl
was really
place.
Good.
Oh my god, that was crazy, and they were churning that shit out.
Yeah.
Like you had a little single, it was only like single booths,
stall, yeah.
And you're just like people are just. I'm watching these people; they are whipping these noodles like straight from Naruto. Yep. If you guys have seen Naruto, like he just eats those noodles like it's nothing.
It's real.
Oh, and
efficient.
And it's like, get out. It's like 5 to 10 minutes turnaround per person, and there's a line out the door. It was crazy, and it was
it's like a factory.
That was some of the best ramen I've ever had. I don't know if do we consider that ramen? It's like
I think it was ramen.
It was like
it was a style ramen.
It was a style. A style. And speaking, I will touch on one more great food that we had. How was the Hiroshima style okonomiyaki?
That was a great experience. I have one of the photos from there. It's one of my favorite photos. It's okonomiyaki is in Japanese means have it your way. It's like an egg-based dish with cabbage, and then you can layer a lot of different things with it. You can layer strips of bacon, you can layer fish, you can layer a bunch of vegetables, and they douse it in this mayo, this pew pie mayo. Yeah. And a bunch of other kinds of sauces that you can think of. And we sat down and we were going to order one each and quickly realized that, no, these things are big and these things fill you up. So I think we ate that in Hiroshima, and then we went and napped. But it was amazing.
No, wait. We only had what? We only ended up getting one.
No, we
didn't
got two.
Oh, we got two. That was impressive. But
Yeah.
that was heavy.
You crushed yours almost by yourself.
Oh yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
I was in love, but I will take credit for that. Do you remember? I found that.
You did find that
I
out.
was going to my infamous YouTube feed.
That's right.
I do talk about my YouTube feed a lot on the show because it gives me some good
Your
shit.
YouTube feed gave us some good information. Like
Oh
the
my God.
train was a good call out. Otherwise, we couldn't get
Well,
everywhere.
I watched. What I would do is at work, I would watch like hours of this like kind of informational stuff in the background while I was doing my tasks because it was more analyst like entry level. So it was a lot of like point and click and working through like formulas and stuff. And like I could just play stuff in the background and listen to it. I like to listen to audio, right? So a lot of this stuff, when it came down to decision making, I had it in the back of my head. I was like, oh wait, we got to do this. Hiroshima, like okonomiyaki. And like, oh, we need to go here. Boat train, do this. This is worth it. Like, just because I was listening to it so much. Before we went on our trip, I was listening to how to speak Japanese, like sleep tracks, like as I was sleeping, which supposedly help you like learn language more. And I felt, all in all, I felt very comfortable there. It was a great trip. And it was all thanks to you, Scuba Steve. I tagged along on your trip, and I'm so happy we got to share that experience. And I think that made us a lot closer to this day.
Yeah, we found every single magic store in every single region of every single city. And I remember it's like one of my fondest memories. We just arrived from the airport. Larry took a different route, so he was on the plane for about 12 more hours than I was. And then when we got off the plane, we went to our hotel. I think we just got in the hotel. I think I took a shower, changed of clothes, and called Larry up. It's like, hey, yo, where you at? He's like, I'm at the magic store. Like, what? We just got off like a 27-hour flight. You just got off a crazy long flight. Did you even shower? He's like, no. I went to Yellow Submarine. There's some good cards here.
Okay, wait. So I just a little more. I know we're gonna finish up Japan here, but the things I want to say to that is there was a very special Japanese set that had just came out of Magic. So I was very interested in the whole potential financial investment there, and I loved the cards because it was anime supported. But that was
And
that.
Larry showed me that he had a scar on the left side of his back where he sold his left kidney because he said, I'll get it back later. I promise. These cards are going to be worth so much money.
Wait, do you remember also that night? We walked around, and I think we got. I don't know if we got ramen that night, but we walked around a little bit, and you guys were dead tired.
No, we got soba that night. It was a fast food soba.
We got the soba that night.
Yeah.
The soba noodles, and then you guys were headed to bed. We stopped at the store. I got highballs.
right.
Suntory highballs.
highballs.
Yes, which is whiskey sodas, right? I got like 3 of those, and we went back to our hotel, and there's pachinko in the bottom floor of a hotel.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, I'm gonna go hit up pachinko. You want to come? I got some Suntories here. And you guys are like, no, we're ready for bed. And like, granted, it's totally fair. It was a long day, but I went in and I went to the pachinko place, and I pulled out these Suntories, like, cracked those bad boys, and I started playing pachinko. By the way, I had no clue what I was doing. I just know that a ball goes down and I want it to get in the hole, right? But I'm playing. I'm drinking my Suntory, and the guy that's working there comes up to me, and he was trying to communicate to me no alcohol. And I didn't know. And I was just sitting there just like, and he's like, no. And I was like, what? What am I doing wrong? Am I not supposed to hit the thing here? Like, am I hitting the wrong button? And no. And we have like an exchange for like 3 minutes, and he was so polite and so nice, and he didn't want to like be aggressive in any way. And there's also some sort of like language barrier, right? But it took a long time for us, and he ended up pointing out the bot. Like, he pointed at the can. He's like, no. I was like, by the way, I'm motioning me drinking. I'm like, I can't drink this. And I finished the whole one, and then he let me finish out my game.
Yeah.
Because I already had credits or whatever. But it was very funny because, I guess there was no alcohol allowed. But it was like, silly Larry was in a foreign land. Didn't know. I didn't know what he was saying. So I was just like, okay, yes. Hold on 1 minute. Still drinking. Still drinking. But no, it was an awesome time. So, moving on. Why do I call you Scuba Steve? Do you know why I call you Scuba Steve?
No idea we call me Scuba Steve.
Okay. So some people might know, Some people might not, but it's not. It's not. By the way, it's not a derogatory term in any way. It's like Scuba Steve is the man, right? And let me explain why. So Scuba Steve is and I'm pulling this off of the interwebs. For those. Scuba Steve is a fictional character / toy from the Adam Sandler movie Big Daddy. Have you ever seen that movie, Steve?
No, I haven't.
There was this whole movie, Big Daddy, and I loved it. And so what it was, Adam Sandler made up the Scuba Steve toy, but it's based on the real toy Sandler had when he was young. And the toy was called Diver Dan. So Scuba Steve is a running joke throughout the film and plays a key role in a couple of the scenes. And he's just a funny character because Adam Sandler would dress up as Scuba Steve, right? And like it was like Scuba Steve. It's like it's also fun to say, you know, like you got Big Larry, you got Small Larry, you got Scuba Steve, you know, you got Richard, you know, like you got all the characters around, and it's just another like, you know, like bio / personality. But yeah, it's totally a term of endearment. I watched a lot as a kid.
I want a t-shirt one day next on the CML studios with the name Scuba Steve.
Scuba Steve merch. There we go.
Scuba Steve merch. Ooh. Buy it now.
By the way, this is the episode name. It has to be Scuba Steve.
Let's make it Scuba Steve.
Oh yeah, you know it. But we'll work on getting you some Scuba Steve merch. Merch is also coming in our future, by the way. So get hype on that. But yeah, so have you actually ever gone scuba diving?
No. When I was a kid, I think I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. My parents thought it'd be a brilliant idea to teach me how to swim by taking me and throwing me on the deep end of a swimming pool. So once I got rescued and came back to life from almost drowning, I didn't like the water so much. So I didn't learn how to swim till college. When a good roommate of mine was saying, you should probably learn how to do this thing so if you ever fall in water, you don't die.
You didn't know how to swim until college?
Nope.
Now, do you think that you had a fear of swimming because your parents were just like,
yep.
They just yeeted you in the water?
Right into the water. And I just didn't like water. Still to this day, it's like I would choose not to be in the water.
Wow.
I can swim, but I don't enjoy it. I know how to be alive now.
Oh, but you're not a water person.
I'm not a water person.
No, I feel you with that. I'm not a water person either. I have very, very sensitive skin, right? And we are land mammals, all right, guys. I'm not projecting, but I'm projecting. Like I don't like the water either. Okay, we are meant for the land. We don't belong in the water. So I totally back that. My skin burns if I go in the ocean.
So no Scuba Steve here.
So you're the scuba without the Steve. I got you. You're the Steve without the scuba. You're still my Scuba Steve.
I'm always your Scuba Steve.
So what else, Steve? What's up?
Well, I think what's on a lot of people's minds is with this COVID times, a lot of people weren't able to do things that they wanted to do. Go places, see people. There's a lot of opportunity now. If you could take the next year, think about 2021. Assuming everything is good and you can travel the world again, that Japan trip was epic. You saved up a lot. You're probably still paying off some debts.
Oh, I am. I got Johnny break my legs over there. You know, like I got Johnny in the corner. You know, he got the bat. If I don't pay him back, and I'm losing my shins.
It's true. The
I'm
Lannisters.
Italian. I have connections to the mafia, but not in a good way.
How do you think I afforded all those magic cards? If you could pick now your next destination, have an epic adventure like that. What was that, 3 weeks or something?
Yeah, it's 24 days. I remember exactly.
So, next 24-day adventure. What's your top 3? Starting from number 3.
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely want to flip it back to you after me. I think everyone, even our listeners, can all have an idea at this point. We've been cooped up for so long. So many people have not been able to see their family and friends. So many people's vacations and future plans have got put on hold. I personally know 3 friends that had their weddings called off, which, I feel really bad for that. My sister is graduating right now amidst COVID. So it's tough on everyone. But That being said, I think we all have optimistic outlooks for what's next, right? And what we want to do next. And if I wanted to do anything next, I think I deserve it to my parents, my heritage, and just my family as a whole to go back to Italy. I've never been to Italy. We had a trip planned for May of this year, May 2020, right? Smack dab in the middle of COVID. And we were going, and this trip was 4 to 5 years in the making. We were really excited about it.
A big trip.
It was, and it was actually going to go to Italy, and then for a week and a half or so, and then go on a week Mediterranean cruise.
Oh, that'd been nice.
Where we'd be able to hit Croatia and Greece.
Oh,
so this was a big deal, and this is something that I expressed to my family or my mom that I wanted to go to like Greece and Croatia, and she's really wanted to go to Italy because, again, I'm from Italy. I'm 50% Italian. My mom's 100% Italian. Her parents are from Italy. And it's I've never experienced that, and I think that not just because of the fact that we had that planned and my family wants to do it. I think I need to do that for me to really experience kind of my heritage and upbringing. I know, for example, you were born in China, right? You've been back to China since you've been born? Because I feel like I have my homeland in Italy, and I need to experience that. Have you been back to China since you were born there, and have you really like seen your family and kind of seen your heritage in that sense?
Yeah, I was born in China, and I went back probably every few years to see my grandparents there, my aunts and uncles.
Oh, so your grandparents are there as well.
So I saw China kind of grow up from a pretty third world country, like very interesting kind of situation going there. I remember seeing horse and donkey carts in the middle of Beijing.
Oh, wow.
To now when you go there and it's like the who's who of the famous car world of, oh, that's a collectible. And you don't see the horse buggies anymore. And the whole world there has changed so much in the last 25, 30 years. But yeah, it's definitely worth the trip. I think hearing from your story of how you're going to do Italy and Greece and Croatia, it reminds me, so the way I love to travel, and you kind of experience some of this in the Japan trip, is I go somewhere for a long time. And I like going there for a long time. And I like to travel around the countryside and see the different areas. A couple years ago, I went to France. And it was my first time to France, but it was really my first time to France. Because I've traveled through France, like I've gone for work into Paris. Probably that was it. Work for Paris and then visited Paris once with my family when I was younger. But I never really went to France. And so what I meant by when I went to France is I took a plane to England, rented a car, and drove it through France for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so I went into all the small sleepy villages that had hotels that didn't speak English, or like literally B&Bs, not Airbnbs, like B&Bs that didn't speak English. Walked around and ate and drank at places that didn't have English menus. I really experienced France. I love traveling like that kind of style. I think you like it too.
No, I think that I would agree there. It's like getting the non-tourist experience, right? It's like the real experience of said country or said region or place. I like that a lot. No, that's great.
So top 3 places, Larry. Top 3 places. Starting number 3, you said Italy.
Well, Italy's the number 1, I'd say.
Number 1? Okay. What's your number 2 and 3?
Croatia and Greece.
What's so special about Croatia and Greece?
Well, Croatia's just absolutely beautiful. It's so beautiful there. It's so pretty. You know, you got obviously like Game of Thrones there. I think some of Lord of the Rings might be recorded there. It's just the landscape is absolutely stunning, and it's unadulterated in a sense that in a way that I've never seen. Every place that I've ever been has been like industrialized, cities, landscape. It's like people have ruined nature in a sense. They've taken over nature in a sense. And I feel like Croatia has some really good places where it's just completely clean and fresh. And I haven't seen clear water my whole life. The water I've been to is pretty murky across the board. Like, there's a lot of pollution, and Croatia is well known for its clear water. And Greece, I grew up loving Greek mythology, and everything that goes with it. And I really want to see that. And then Italy is just, again, for my heritage, I need to experience that. How about yourself? What are your top three?
Those are some good places. A lot of great history comes from those three areas, and if you don't have it on your list, I'd highly recommend Israel. It was one of my favorite spots that I went 2 years ago. Never thought I would love it as much as I did, but it's similar in line where history means a very different kind of depth. Like in America, you have history, and then in Israel, you have history.
Yeah.
And it's really the difference of, this statue with the torch welcoming you into New York City was, the French gave it to us a couple, maybe 100-something year or 200-something years ago. And then when you're in Israel, you go through the walking tour and they say, and then Jesus of Nazareth was here. And you're like, excuse me? It's like, yes, this is where he ate the falafel. And you're like, wow.
I'm going to eat a falafel here
I'm going to go eat a falafel there too. That sounds great.
Yeah.
And so when you have a situation like that, then you realize, you know what? I really want to know a little bit more about what's going on around here. Meet some more of the people. So I would say Israel should be was very high on my list. That I checked that one off, thankfully. I think for me, there's a couple of things. It's about experiences with friends in different areas. And one of the ones that a good friend of mine has done, and a few of people I've known, and as well as a lot of YouTubers have done, is Thailand and Vietnam, but through a motorcycle. A motorcycle ride through Thailand, a motorcycle ride through Vietnam would be amazing. Start from one place. There's a whole map plan that all the YouTubers have figured this out.
That's hardcore.
You think so, but we went and climbed Mount Fuji in the middle of the night, and you said you were not going to make it a number of times. And you know what? You ended up eating it and making it. There's a lot of things that we think is hardcore. You thought sushi was hardcore. Monkfish liver? You weren't even going to touch that. And then once you sat down and dropped 2 big Larrys down for the cost, you were like, I'm eating the monkfish liver. I'm making it my bitch.
Fair. All right, you got me.
So something like a motorcycle trip to Vietnam, I wouldn't watch too many YouTube videos because you get a little freaked out. You know what happens when the engine dies or this
don't do too much research. Just watch the highlight reel.
Exactly. You want to see the drone footage of how beautiful it is. And then at the end, they tally up the cost, and you're like, that's affordable. $1 goes really far in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And so, these are the things I think you should look into, because $1 goes a heck of a lot further in some of those countries. And, for 100 big Larrys, you could experience a whole lot of Vietnam.
A whole lot. That's awesome. I love that. So, Scuba Steve, you're a little bit more experienced than me. You've had you had a couple tracks around the block. You got a vibe. You show me a lot. What's the stupidest thing you ever did? I gotta have something on you here.
I've done a few things. All right.
I'm sure we've all done some stupid shit.
I think it was my 25th birthday. Just got a brand new
25
phone.
is a great number. I'm 25 right now, baby.
I know. And I had it at a great beer garden, the Standard Beer Garden. It's got a great ping pong area. Hope they're still around. And I had a friend of mine. You would have liked. He's a good guy. He's out in California now.
Okay.
And he really planned the whole night out. He fed me these shots that were double tequila shots, but with probably 2 parts tequila and 3 parts lime juice.
Oh, just sneak it by you.
I tasted nothing.
Oh, sneaky.
And all I remember that night was I had a great time. And I remember opening my eyes, and to the left, I had Mr. Police Officer A, and to my right, Mr. Police Officer B. And I was in the middle of the pool fountain by the South Street Seaport. And mind you, the Standard Beer Garden is nowhere near the South Street Seaport, and I lived pretty, decent a bit away from the South Street Seaport, so I had no idea how I ended up in
Would
the
you
South
say
Street
that you
Seaport.
were naked and afraid?
I was definitely afraid, and I had no idea what my shirt was.
Oh,
So,
wait, you're actually naked.
I
take it as like a term. It's like when you're like lost, you're naked and afraid.
I was
It's
naked
like, you were
and
actually
afraid.
naked and afraid.
And I remember waking up the next morning, one with a massive hangover, and two with the memory of the police. And then I had no idea what happened. And I remember taking my phone out, and it was still dripping with beer. It was still dripping with beer.
Beer-soaked phone?
It was a beer-soaked phone. It didn't work anymore. But
How did that happen?
the tequila remembers. I don't. That was my first kind of encounter with New York City cops. But that's probably the most interesting one I'm publicly willing to share.
Okay.
And there's a lot more that have to deal with cops encounters and situations that are there that were not as fun.
Okay. I think we've all been found at some point in time. We've opened our eyes and we've been naked and afraid, and that's just a part of being
The naked
human.
and afraid part, definitely.
Yes,
in New York City, 25th birthday, the morning after, and then you remember cops. And you're like, I don't really know what happened. And you call your friends up and he's like, what hit me? He's like, yo, those double tequila shots with lime.
Slaps. It's like on our next, we had a Hot Larry's episode where we had hot wings and tequila shots.
Yeah.
Next time, we need more lime juice.
Lime juice.
We went with actual limes, and that we would grab that, like we'd chew it and it'd explode. And it's like we wouldn't even get the lime juice; it would just explode out of our mouths. So it's like that doesn't work. We need the lime juice. That's
juice.
what hides the
100%.
danger.
3-part lime juice, 2-part tequila,
There
you're
we
dead.
go. There we go. That's some science right there. That's how it works.
It's chemistry. It's chemistry.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it would be chemistry. Okay. So, also, Steve, you've had the pleasure of listening to some of Lil Huey's tracks. How has that been? We've played some of them on our podcast as the outros, but what is it like getting the inside look to someone that's about to be famous for their raps?
The genius of all this, really, you have to see it to experience it, because Lil Huey doesn't materialize until at least I have maybe like 4 shots. Then Lil Huey materializes.
Slaps, and he slaps.
And he really slaps. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, maybe if we try that tequila lime, Lil Huey might get famous.
We might transcend. We
Might go to the next
here.
level there. Might go to the next level there.
Yeah, we're gonna keep experimenting. Like Lil Huey just is a vibe, right? And Lil Huey's dropping our outro tracks. You might see him in the next episode. We'll throw a fresh one on this track just for Scuba Steve here. But he's grinding. He's out here. And just to close this out, Scuba Steve, my man. What do you think? What do you think of being part of CML? What do you think of being a co-host on Call Me Larry? How you feeling, man? How you feeling right now?
Look, I'm proud to be early guest co-host of the early days of CML, because when CML hits big, we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be proud to be one of the early merch. Scuba Steve is part of the CML.
You deserve a cut of Scuba Steve. I'll tell you that much.
It's a big brand to be built here, Scuba Steve, under the CML lifestyle apparel and accessories.
Oh yeah, baby. We're gonna have underwear too. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's the package.
The package to protect your package.
That's what I'm saying.
There we go.
That's what I'm saying.
Package for the package. Protect.
And on the back it says, "Call me Larry."
No, but Steve, it has really been great having you as our guest co-host for the night on this podcast. We hope to get your scuba ass back on this in the future. We're very appreciative to have you here. Any last things you want to say or close out with?
No, it's been a pleasure to be here. It's like, thank you everyone for listening, and please subscribe.
Follow us at callmelarry_pod on Insta. We're also on YouTube at Call Me Larry. And we hope to hear you again next week. Thanks for tuning in, fam. Peace. Asking where you at, man. Break it down like Batman. No, I'm not a bad man. Damn, I need a cash. Getting so crazy. Ain't no going back. Then can't be lazy. Minding the clouds, hella hazy. Blue pill, red pill, getting crazy.